Hello and welcome to my video where I'm going to show you how to knit a garter stitch triangle edge. This edging is designed to be knitted onto or sewn onto an existing knitted project. You can use any kind of yarn for this. I'm going to be using double knitting or DK yarn, which is basically a medium weight yarn. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is cast on 6 stitches. These 6 stitches represent 5 stitches for the garter stitch band and 1 stitch to begin the triangle shape. For row number 1, you simply knit 6 stitches. Then for row 2, which will be the same as every other even numbered row in this pattern, you begin by slipping a stitch purlwise. So make sure the working yarn is at the front. Then take your right hand needle down into the next stitch, as if to purl. But instead of purling it, you just slip that stitch off the end of the needle. And then you knit 4 stitches. You then need to do the yarn over that separates the triangle from the garter stitch band. So to do this, simply take the working yarn between the needles to the front. And then knit the rest of the stitches, so in this case you're knitting 1 stitch. As you can see, in order to do this stitch, the working yarn needs to come from the front, around the right hand needle to the back, and that completes the yarn over. Then row number 3 is the same as most of the other odd numbered rows in this pattern. You begin by slipping a stitch purlwise, so make sure the working yarn is at the front. Take your right hand needle down through the next stitch as if to purl, and then slip that stitch off the end of the needle. Then you just knit the rest of the stitches, so in this case you knit 6. Then row number 4 is going to be basically the same as row number 2, so you begin by slipping a stitch purlwise. Then you knit 4 stitches. Bring the working yarn between the needles to the front to make a yarn over, and then knit the rest of the stitches. Then row 5 is the same as row number 3, so you slip 1 stitch purlwise, and then knit the rest of the stitches, so in this case you knit 7. Because this pattern basically just repeats these last 2 rows, I'm going to give you a formula to follow and to repeat until you have 16 stitches on your needles. So basically, for every even numbered row, you'll slip 1 purlwise, knit 4, yarn over, and then knit the rest of the stitches. Then for every odd numbered row, you'll slip 1 purlwise and then knit the rest of the stitches. And it's as easy as that. You just repeat those 2 rows until you have 16 stitches. For your reference, the last row that you'll therefore complete will be slip 1 purlwise, knit 4, yarn over, knit 10. And that's what I'm just finishing off here. We then need to bind off most of these stitches. So you slip 1 purlwise, knit 1, and then bind off by lifting that second stitch down, over the stitch above it, and off the end of the needle. And you just repeat this until you've only got 6 stitches left in total. So knit 1, and then bind off. Knit 1, bind off. Knit 1, bind off, and so on. As you can see, I now have 5 stitches on the left hand needle and 1 on the right, so 6 stitches in total. In order to finish this row, you just need to knit these 5 stitches. And that's it, that's 1 triangle completed. And it should look like this, with a garter stitch band across the top a line of yarn over eyelets or holes, and then the triangle shape at the bottom. You now just need to repeat the pattern from row number 2 until you've got as many triangles as you want. I'm just going to make one more triangle. Here is the full pattern so that you can follow along as well. Then to finish this edging, you simply bind off the rest of the stitches to leave just one stitch remaining. Then cut the working yarn so that there's at least 6 inches left. Take this yarn tail through the last stitch and tighten. Then all that's left to do is decide which side is the wrong side and weave all of the yarn tails into that side. So feed a yarn tail into a yarn needle or a tapestry needle and just weave it into one side of that edging. Just try and follow the path of the yarn already in the knitting. Then cut off the excess yarn. And that's it, your garter stitch triangle edging is now complete. You should know that this pattern is very easy to alter. So if you wanted the garter stitch band to be a different width or the triangles to be a different size, it's very easy to do so. If you look at the even numbered rows, you've got a slip stitch and then knit 4. And it's those stitches that represent the garter stitch band. So you can change the knit 4 to knit 1 or knit 7 or whatever you like, depending on how wide you want that garter stitch band to be. Just as a side note, if you do change the width of the garter stitch band, you'll need to change the number of stitches that you cast on at the start. As for altering the triangle size, you just need to repeat the rows of the pattern more times or fewer times. So for this sample here, which I did in super bulky yarn, I stopped when I had 12 stitches, rather than stopping when I had 16 stitches. I ended on the row slip 1 purlwise, knit 4, yarn over, knit 6, and as a result the triangle has fewer garter stitch rows. You can see that both samples have similar sized triangles as a result, even though one of the yarns is much bulkier. I hope that's clear, and I hope you're now easily able to alter this pattern. I really hope you found this tutorial useful, and thank you very much for watching.